Warning, this podcast will contain spoilers for the Channel 4 show Celebrity Hunted, in particular Celebrity Hunted Series 5. It may contain some strong language and at some point, a dog.
In 2022, 10 celebrities left behind their lives to go on the run in aid of stand-up to cancer.
Their mission to go undetected for 14 days up against an elite team of hunters, tracking their every move.
Zoe Floyd, surgeon reading Spearman. Yeah.
Ah, bollocks. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks.
Wait out, possible.
We need to get out of here. I'm getting really paranoid right now.
Let's sing a travel when it's over. You've been hunted down, Lydia. Stand where you are, stay where you are.
Where are they?
With the CCTV, which jetty were they heading towards? Because there's two.
Yeah, so the right-hand jetty.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, Jordan, this is all on you now. Ground hunter units are not going to make it in time.
I can hear something in the trees.
Go on, Jordan, get them legs in motion, mate.
He's there! I go!
Must be getting close, Jordan, I can hear it.
Yeah, I got.
Come on, Jordan.
Bollocks.
My name's Craig,
And I'm Nat. Last year we discovered Hunted and became obsessed.
but like with every obsessive TV show we watch, we're left with unanswered questions.
Like, did the Speakmans have to become each other's therapists? Eva for Nick sleeping outside?
And Nik Eva getting captured by Jordan?
Yes!
Sorry, Jordan.
Which bank is best? The bank of boob or the bank of serial killer?
And what's it like being a Fugitives associate and getting grilled by the hunters?
It's time to find out as we welcome Nik, Eva
And Liv Speakman.
to the Hunted podcast.
Could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. And when they try the chains, you can say no, free me.
Hello, welcome back to the Hunted podcast.
Hello.
Hi. Great episode last week with Bobby Seagull. Now, I'm feeling inspired by Bobby.
If
And
this has got anything to do with maths, me and you are done.
It does,
Oh, for
but
God's
bear
sake.
with me. I've got an equation for you.
Go on.
Okay, so what do you get when you times 2 fugitives by 1 associate?
I don't know. What do you get if you times 2 fugitives by 1 associate?
It's the bloody Speakman!
Hello.
Sure is, and we're here.
Oh, thanks for so much for joining us, guys. Really great to see you. How's life post on the run?
Yeah, it's gone very back to normal. Our life still 100 miles an hour, but this time not looking over our shoulder quite as much, which is a relief.
I imagine it was about this time last year, wasn't it, when you guys had pretty much either just about to start or just finished?
5th of July we started.
Yeah, so we were leading up to it.
Yeah, it was just it was July.
I
And
think
it
we're
was,
just at that point where we're thinking, oh, what have we done? What we agreed to.
yeah, this time
Yeah.
last year, yeah, it was July, and it was during that that really sort of severe heat wave. That we actually went on the run, which was good and bad. For sleeping outside, it was great, but obviously trying to manoeuvre with a big backpack and trying to get around, it was really, really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. We've got loads to talk about. We've got lots of different questions. Obviously, last time we saw you guys, we had our Sorry Jordan t-shirts on.
We
It was on your
did.
Instagram live after the final. What's been the response, before we delve into the whole journey, what's been the response since that final episode? Because there is a massive elephant in the room, which we're going to have to touch upon at some point, Eva, when it comes to the final capture. But what's the general response been like to you guys?
It's been predominantly, it's been really good, actually. I'm not even going to say predominantly. It's been incredibly positive. Everybody was really championing us, and we were quite shocked, actually, that people enjoyed our antics and adventures on the run. So it has been great. Within the first few hours, obviously, because I'd mentioned the word plane, I did get quite a lot of negativity from your typical kind of online trolls, people that would normally be quite nasty, I guess, anyway. But, you know, so that did happen. I'm not going to lie, that devastated me for a good 24 hours. But spoke to Bobby about it. It upsets me even talking about it now, actually.
I mean, the thing is, it's not the sort of stuff that we're used to, because obviously we spend our time helping people, and just because Eva said one thing, and you know, in fairness to Eva, she'd know every episode that she'd seen, there was an airfield involved at the end. So saying that wasn't anything untoward for her anyway. But then she did even say after that, or any other means where we might have gone. And, you know, and they knew, because they knew where we were heading and they knew where Bobby were heading, that it was one of 3 airfields anyway. And as you'll know from previous series, they look at the one that's got no flights going in there because they block it off for the day. So they knew exactly which one it was. It was nothing to do with Eva. But yeah, and I think the people that were nasty aren't fans of the show. They're just people that just go on, you know, they're just on social media all the time looking for shows where they can have a go at people. That's all they do.
I think the other thing as well, though, to mention is, like, obviously they released the, you know, the wanted posters in advance, and because I remember even I thought they were the last ones left, because I was keeping an eye on social media and seeing they put the wanted posters out, and then they gradually they deleted the Katia and Amy one, they deleted the Bobby and Saffron one, so theirs was the last wanted poster on. So that was on its own for like the last couple of days. So yeah, so I think we all kind of, I mean, I suppose
we thought we were
they were the last ones left. As well, so
yeah, it's a weird thing. People do that. It always amazes me when people do that about TV shows, because there's no need for them, but that's the kick they get out of life, and it's just silly. But that's why after each episode, when we first started the series, we didn't have a plan of what we were going to do with it. We just wanted to carry on doing what we were doing, and we started doing quote of the week, and then we thought, actually, no, there's something happening on Twitter after every episode. We just quite enjoyed, didn't we, sitting for a good half an hour, looking at the idiotic things people have put and calling them out on it.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I think a lot of people think that either it's incredibly real to the point where you're actual fugitives who have done a crime, or that it's incredibly faked, scripted, and everyone knows what's going to happen at every single point. Some people don't realise that a little bit is a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this one was for a charity as well. Let's not forget that. The whole reason you guys did it was, you know, for Stand Up to Cancer. There was no prize at the end of it other than personal pride in winning it. So
yeah, but again, a lot of people think that the money only goes to Stand Up to Cancer if they get to the end. Right? The fact the court, no money's going there.
And obviously not the case. But going back to your question, obviously the feedback that we've had and has been predominantly on our social media platforms and has been amazing, as has literally just members of the public. Even yesterday I was in the supermarket, and the amount of people that came up to me and just said, oh my God, you know, we loved it, you did so well. We felt really sort of behind you. So the support was really lovely. And I suppose that's what the main thing that why we did it was because of Stand Up to Cancer. Nik lost his mum to cancer, so it was something that was very sort of
relevant to us.
Relevant to us, data. It's something that we really wanted to do because we haven't done reality TV before. It's not something that we've ever embarked on or wanted to do. So it was something very new for us. And because of the charity, that's what sort of swung it, really. Plus the kids, Liv and Hunt, were like, do it, it's a great show, because we never had. So that was sort of the main reason that we did it. And, you know, we're so pleased that we did, because it really took us out of our comfort zone. It really pushed us into sort of an area that we, you know, like sleeping outside. Nik had never done that in his life, and I've been trying for 30 years to get into camp and to go outside and to try sleeping outside, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that. So it got us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't have normally done. We got to sort of look up friends that we hadn't seen for ages, and as you saw, what was very real was the fact that we together laughed for the whole 14 days, pretty much, that we were on the run, didn't we?
We did, and funnily enough, we're just going back to the public again. When the show was being aired, so many people would say to me, do you want me to hide it? Are you all right? You know, because they thought it were live.
Yeah. The minute they started advertising it, we were getting WhatsApp messages and texts off friends saying,
and like really cryptic ones as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm trying to say, and it was like, no, it's not happening now.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's quite funny because obviously like the next one is just around the corner in terms of being filmed, so there'll be people going through that same process now, which is crazy. And then in a year's time, it'll all come flooding back of, do you need to hide at my house? Yeah. I've got a tent that you can borrow. Crazy how it all works. You've obviously mentioned about why you wanted to do it for the charity and to obviously honour your mum and everything like that. How were you approached to do it? Some people, it just sort of comes out of the blue. Other people, it might be a recommendation. We know with Bobby, for example, who told us last week, he was approached and then he got to choose.
He got to choose,
Saffron. So how did you guys get approached to be on the show in the first place?
We just came through our agent. Our agent said we actually got approached. We've been approached before and before because we've just always turned down reality TV, and we just said to our management, look, we're not interested in reality TV. Don't even, because a lot of things don't even bother. You know what I'm saying? With the exception of, I went on The Chase because I always wanted to go on The Chase. So with the exception of The Chase, not interested.
But that's not reality TV.
No. But
and actually, that came through. We were at a wedding with Bradley Walsh.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Bradley, too many to drink.
Yeah.
And he went, "I do The Chase."
Yeah. And then a week later, I was like, "Oh, you're on it." Right. But anyway, we just said that we weren't interested in reality TV, and then they asked again, and our management said, "Look, just consider this." And she talked about the charity, and then she talked about the fact that you spend a lot of time talking about people getting outside of the comfort zone and and testing people before you cure them of the phobia and so on. And she said, so I think that do you not think you should consider taking a bit of your own medicine?
Yeah, and she encouraged us to watch it as well, didn't she?
I don't think you knew it was
I mean, we as you can tell, because we're running about all the time, we don't get a chance to watch much TV, so we've not even seen the show either. So, but when we watched it, I was like, this is amazing. Absolutely loved it straight away.
And so that was it then. So we just spoke to them and we thought, well, we'll just have a chat with them and we'll just see how it goes. But we were quite chilled about it and didn't expect to hear anything actually. And then the next thing, our manager rang and went, they want you on. And we're like, holy crap, I didn't actually think that was going to happen. We thought we'd just having a nice chat and then that would be that. And then it kind of just happened. And
very
it was
quickly, wasn't
it?
it?
Very quick. It seemed quick, yeah. And it was like, oh, right, so this is really happening. And how real is it? And like, it's real.
I don't think you realised how real it was, though. Like, the whole tandem, situation.
Oh, yeah, the tandem
I think at
bike.
the beginning, you were laughing, like, oh, we're going to have so much fun. And then as it got nearer and nearer, you were like,
panicking a bit. Because Nick didn't know about the tandem. Nick didn't know about the tandem bike. And I just, as you saw on the actual show, literally we laugh a lot. We like to have a lot of fun. And so I just thought, oh, it's going to be a right laugh having a tandem bike. And Liv knew about it. And then as it came closer and I'd heard other people's modes of transport, I thought...
Ours was a bit sad.
Well, we heard last night that from Bobby, last week, for those that are listening to it, never do things on like consecutive nights and then put them out a week apart. That my brain up. Bobby was saying that Ed and James, their initial plan, rather than to go and eat some food, was to get a hot air balloon.
Yes.
I don't think they could do that.
No,
they never told us that. We spent a lot of time with Ed and James in prison, and then the night before, and I know Bobby was with us because it was sort of the five of us had dinner together, didn't we? I don't remember a hot air balloon.
No, I don't remember that.
But it's very likely that they probably did. So
I mean, I thought it was just so cool that they just casually sauntered and went and had a meal.
To be fair, it was very on brand.
It was on brand, yeah.
Yeah,
for them.
Very on brand.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
No, I thought they were absolutely fabulous, and obviously we watch it for the first time with the public, and watching them, we were howling.
Yeah,
we thought they were hilarious. Yeah. Like they were so funny.
They were very funny.
They were great. Yeah. We were quite glad that they went so quickly, actually.
And then, of course, Liv, you actually got to then interact with them because one of the main reasons we've got you on tonight as well is not just to get Nik and Eva's perspective as actual fugitives, but also your perspective as an associate. at what point did you know that you were going to get involved with that, or was there ever a thought process of actually, I might go on the run with Nik and do it as dad and daughter, or I might go on the run with Eva and do it as mum daughter? Was there a thought process behind that, or were you just thinking, I'm just going to get involved if I can?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember we had like a few like chats, didn't we, before you went, kind of like thinking about how it was going to run, like kind of sort of different ideas of things that they might want to do whilst they were away. And it was kind of, using me was actually never on the cards because we thought it might be too risky, because obviously I'm so connected, like I'm the first person they were going to look at. So when we originally sort of started talking about ideas, it was kind of just an absolute no that I was going to be involved at all, really. And then it was kind of right at the last minute, I think. I remember saying to you, because we were kind of looking at different sort of initial plans, because obviously then after that you just kind of, whatever happens happens. And I remember saying, actually, if we're going to use me, I'll do right at the very beginning, because obviously, like, I knew that they'd have eyes on me, like, no matter what. So I thought, if they use me right at the very beginning, get me out of the way, and then actually then by the time they start really looking into everything, they won't look at me anymore, because they'll think, well, they've already, you know, used me, and then if they needed me again, perhaps I could, you know, pop up, which you obviously didn't.
Yeah,
but,
no, but we
didn't. But what we didn't realise is that obviously when we were spending time with Ed and James and we're talking to them, and it was Ed who said, look, I've got you know, I'm on Radio X on a Saturday, and you know, I go to the studio in London, but they've arranged it so I can go in Manchester instead. So they'll think I'm in London, but I'll be in Manchester. The only thing is, I've got nowhere to stay. And then we just said, well, you can stay at ours.
Yeah, well, I was give you our daughter's number. Just give her a call if you need, and you just stay there. And that was it. And
literally, that was it. And then the first night when we'd done the tandem trip and we got first night and we were thinking, just reflecting on the day, I just suddenly had this thought, if they followed Liv when we did the decoy, and obviously they're at our house, and then we've sent Ed and James to our house, then, you know, we might have dropped them right in it, and we're like, how can we contact them? But we had no way of contacting them to say, whatever you do, don't go to our house.
But the funny thing is, because me and Hunter had an idea they might come here, so we were kind of like doing a recce of like when they'd been here, we checked, like, you know, I've seen
when the hunters had been here.
Sorry, yeah, when the hunters came here, not Ed and James, thank you. We did like a bit of a check round, because I said to Hunter, I was like, what if they've put cameras like on the house or something? Because I've seen that before. So we did a full walk around, not thinking of the fact they'd have access to our cameras, us being like, oh well, they've not got any cameras here. It's fine, like, you know. So we didn't think anything of it. So we thought it was fine. And actually, I remember I don't know if I've told you this, actually. I remember when I got interrogated that very first day, I remember Hunter said to JP, he went, what are the chances of you coming back here? And JP was like, oh, well, if you're going to help your parents again, maybe. But if you're not going to help your parents, then probably not. So Hunter was like, right, okay. So we were like, right, we're totally in the clear. Ed and James couldn't come here. They're not going to come back because they think that we're not helping Nik and Eva anymore. Like, it's totally fine. But obviously the cameras kind of let us down a little bit.
How soon after did they come? How many days?
So I think you went on the Thursday and Ed and James came on the Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been, yeah. So I took you on the Thursday. And then, yeah, definitely Saturday. So it was like not the day after.
But going back to getting Liv involved, so, I mean, there was a lot of conversation going on up until, so I decided we were going to do a tandem bike. And then it was like, right, so what do we do next? And and that's when Liv went, well, actually, if you are going to use me first, because I'm going to be the first person they're going to look on. So get me out of the way. And then it was you that came up with the dummies idea, wasn't it?
But also, so just to backtrack a set, they don't find out, obviously, who they're hunting until, like, they're released. So I'm thinking, like, I've got a little bit of time. Yeah. If I get straight away, get going. By the time they're looking at me, they're hopefully already gone. Yeah. That was kind of the thought process.
And originally, Liv was going to take us towards Wales and dump us there. And then she sort of said, no, hang on a second. The minute I've got you from Shrewsbury, I need to put our home in the sat nav, because if they grab my phone, they're going to think that that's where you're going. And then she also, and so that's what she did. She put our home in, and the decoy car that was picking up the car that we did the swap with
was along the route.
Was along the route home.
Because you didn't see that, actually, did you?
They didn't show that.
No. We didn't get to see that. We literally saw you get in, and then the hunters stopping you. Right, so we obviously didn't know that you weren't in there anymore.
Yeah, so we'd done a swap. So our son Hunter was with our friend dressed as me, and then we kind of stopped on the route home. our hunter jumped in the car dressed as me with Liv at the dummy, and then we jumped in with our friend Karen, and we went
the dummy was in my boot from the very beginning. So when I picked them up, the dummy was in the boot, dressed in the same clothes. And literally, like, I kind of mapped the route out to home so that hopefully if they were going to follow me, they'd think I was going home. Mapped that route out, and then found a kind of drop-off point that was on the way, that was like where there was no cameras, really fast.
Under bushes.
Because I knew like it was a matter of seconds. I mean, I was so stressed out. Like, it was so like so stressful. And it was literally the fastest. Like, we pulled in, they jumped out, Hunter grabbed the dummy, put it in the back, jumped in, and we just went. I mean, we didn't get to say goodbye.
No, we didn't say goodbye. We didn't see them then for 14 days.
It was like,
but equally, so we did that swap.
And then just kept driving home.
But then what Liv did was she then put a random address in Manchester into her sat nav, so that if they did then come to the house and they did get a phone, that they think she dropped us somewhere in Manchester.
Which they picked up on the show. They said like there was another address.
Yeah.
They called it Blakely.
Blakely. Yeah, Blakely.
It's Blakely, but they called it Blakely.
So just we just threw them off. They had no idea where they'd gone, and they were just loving life in Wales.
Yeah, we went to the zoo.
If Liv ever needs to like become a fugitive at any point in real life, the skill sets are there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Research.
Proper research there.
Yeah.
Very well done.
More research than what I do. Yeah. How long had you been watching it for, Liv? Because obviously, Nik Eva, you sort of said that you almost binge watched it in. Like,
we didn't watch it all. We just watched a few. We just watched a couple of them, the celebrity ones, and then just odd shows. So we didn't see all of them, but you'd seen more than us, hadn't you?
Yeah, well, I watched more after once I knew you were like thinking about doing it.
But you knew the show because you wanted us to do it.
Yeah, and I'd seen the last series, you know, with Ollie Locke and his husband.
Yeah.
Vivian, and that season. So yeah, and it just seemed like so much fun. It's just such a fun watch, and the concept of them like in their disguises and doing all these fun things, like it seemed like a great plan. So yeah, lots
of great plans. We'll let you behind the curtain a little bit. We keep looking down. You're thinking, why do they keep looking down? Because in the morning when we start this, we always start by having like a massive A3 sheet of notes. So we're just sort of trying to follow it, but I don't make them, and I've just noticed that there's a dog paw print on the corner of there, so Harry must have found it.
That's because he was climbing all over me this morning whilst I was trying to do it before work.
Oh, there you go. So you were looking at the notes, so pick away.
I do. I'm going to ask Liv a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were an associate for them. Do you, before the show starts, do you get told sort of if the hunters turn up? Do you get told that you have to let them in? Do you get told that you have to speak to them? What do you get told sort of to expect?
Great question.
Yeah. So there is some, like, obviously, like, I think I've heard you mention it before, actually. Like, if you get flashed, obviously, you've got to, like, pull over if they sort of, like, flag you down.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I mean, one thing you kind of want to do as well, because I know a lot of people say as well, why don't you just say, like, no, you know, coming in sort of thing. And I think that obviously then you've got no show as well. So the other thing is, obviously for us, we wanted to kind of, you know, give them as much as, you know, let them come in and do all these things and whatever, and give as much as I wanted to give as much as I could. I wanted to play the game well and play it properly, you know, give them access to everything they wanted access to, but also try and be clever enough that them having access to all those things wasn't an issue. So yeah, I mean, you don't really get told too much. It's kind of just reactive, other than like, yeah, obviously,
you're
like,
expected
engage
to
with them.
Yeah.
You can't say like no comment all the way through, because then there's nothing.
Yeah, if you're being involved in the show, then you've got to be prepared to speak to to be interrogated and speak to the hunters.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of
that's the only rule, really. As you heard me telling David, probably if he's, I don't know if you remember that from episode 4 in the Crystal Maze, when I was giving David the rundown of what an interrogation might look like. Anal probing.
I can say it didn't. Just it didn't.
They actually don't do that either.
No, they don't.
No.
That's a completely different Channel 4 show. It is afterwards. It's called Hunted After Dark.
What was it like being interrogated by them?
Honestly, so much scarier than I expected, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I cannot express how scary it was. Like the initial bit. So obviously, like, you've seen, like, were hammering on my window and like screaming, "Get out!" And honestly, I can tell you, like, I've seen the show and I expected them to kind of be like, you know, obviously the way they are, like quite tough and, you know, but harsh. That's a good word. But genuinely, I remember, so I pulled up at the gates, and obviously they came running out, and I don't know why in my head I thought, right, they'll let me like drive in, and then they'll wait till I've got out the car, and then they'll let me speak. So I didn't expect them to be like banging on the window. Like, I honestly thought they were going to put the window through. Like, it was so scary. Like, I just didn't, it was so quick as well. And I didn't actually see them coming over my shoulder. So I pulled up at the gates, and the next thing they were like banging on my window and screaming, "Get out the car," which was so like loud and scary. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually really real. Like, it's not, I thought it'd be a bit more like gentle and a bit like acted, and it's not. So yeah, it was that bit was quite scary. But then when they actually came, so obviously you didn't see all of it on camera, but Paul Cashmore interrogated me, and then Hunter was interrogated by JP and Mel. So they immediately split us up. So when they came in, I mean, I heard them radio to Ray, and Ray and HQ was like, split them up, don't let them talk. So they separated us straight away. And Hunter was interrogated outside, I was interrogated inside. So yeah, we were completely split up. We weren't allowed to talk to each other.
Do you want to tell them what we found out after 14 days?
Yeah. So there was other things. So I thought it was really weird. Like, so at first they were really intimidating, and then once they've like interrogated us and everything, they were a bit nicer, but they were acting. I mean, Cashmore was acting a bit like suspicious, and I was like, "What's he doing?" And they wouldn't let me go into the kitchen. They like held me in the entrance, and I was like, what is going on? And I knew they had my phone, so I thought they were just trying to like hack my phone, whatever. And then anyway, I just had a feeling that something was a bit off. And I kept saying to Hunter for the 2 weeks that they were gone, I kept saying to Hunter, I was like, let's not talk about anything in the kitchen. I went, I don't know why, but I just, you know, when you just have a feeling, I was like, I just don't, and he was going to me, "You're being ridiculous, like you're being really paranoid." And I was like, Hunter, I don't care what you want to say, just not in the kitchen. Let's just not talk in the kitchen. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, we basically got emailed to basically say like, oh, we need to retrieve something from the kitchen. Oh, and yeah, and I found out that Cashmore had put a listening device on top of the cupboard. What do you call it? Like the top, right on top of the cupboard, so you'd never see it. It was like right hidden, and it was in my kitchen for 2 weeks.
Oh wow! I mean, we've seen it so many times where they try and like hide little bugs and little like sensory cameras and stuff.
Yeah, but they normally go back for them like within a few hours.
Yeah, they sort of go, "Oh, I forgot my phone," or "There's some other questions I want to ask you," and sort of slip it away.
They never leave it for the whole time.
So they must be convinced then that you two would reach out and try and go home again, because again, it's a long time to leave your kids, isn't it? So
it is, and I think
if
you look on our social media, you'll see that we do everything together. You know, we work together. Liv's our PA. She arranges all our workshops. She's part of our team, and our son Hunter is equally a part of what we do. So I think they probably realised from social media how tight we are as a four, and that was why. And I've got to say that was difficult. That was why we never made contact with home.
We just knew that they were expecting us to do that, so it was just far too dangerous to make.
Had we been absolutely sure about that, we could have done a recording before we went, as though we were still here, and then played it.
Yeah. That would have been clever.
That would have been quite cool. They wouldn't, because obviously with no camera, they wouldn't have known. They'd have just been
Well, we didn't know if it was a camera. It could have been anything, but it was a listening device. It was a bug.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't. Even though I had a feeling, I wasn't sure. It was just like kind of let's just be on the safe side.
Yeah.
So we were shocked, like obviously that it was actually there. But
and imagine as well all the things that because you have lots of casual conversations in the kitchen as well. Imagine the sort of stuff that could have slipped out as well. That's obviously they sign like disclosure agreements and that they can't share it, but just imagine the fun they've had listening to that, and the producers. It's brilliant. But to even think about it is spot on as well. And I guess you guys, I think we wrote down, didn't we, as part of the process, that these guys did a lot of pre-planning.
Yes.
They were very switched on. More so even than Nik, because Nik, you were just thinking about food for most of the time, which is great.
Yeah.
I was starving every day.
I can tell you, I can tell you that Nick had no idea what I'd packed. He just got given wigs and arm tattoos, and I'd be like, just put that on. Just do as you're told. But I am so organised that I did pretty much have everything. I knew what costumes I wanted. I mean, literally, one thing that is absolute fact is we started packing about an hour before a car was coming to pick us up to take us to Shrewsbury, because we'd been working non-stop and we knew to take 2 weeks out, that we could potentially be away for up to 2 weeks. And we have a full clinic, and we host workshops, and we have a charity that we're involved, that we would do a lot of work for, etc. So we had so much to do before we left, because we knew that we may be away for 14 days. That it was about an hour and a half before, and we have a costume box, and I literally went in and it was just like grab, threw a load of stuff in.
If you remember, the car was picking up us at 4 o'clock, and then we just said, there's absolutely no way we're going to be ready. And we put it back to 7, and then we were still
8 o'clock, I think we left. But yeah, so it was me, and I mean, I've got this here. So this here is, you do get given a little notebook to put your numbers in, and that is all you're allowed to take. And it's looking a bit, it's very worn, because this is where I kept all our phone numbers, but also I kept a diary whilst we were on the run, in code, and also picked up people's phone numbers, and there's like people's phone numbers and cards, that things that were given to me. I've actually not looked at it. I've not looked at it properly since, but these are just things that we picked up on the way, little messages and notes, and so yeah, this was all we had. But I was quite organised. It was me that had all the phone numbers of the people that we could potentially contact, and
even that as well. So the other thing was, we came up with nicknames for everybody in our network, like everyone from the very beginning, so that even if they found that, they wouldn't know who anyone was, because it was all like random names.
So like Liv, with mine was Scarlett, because a lot of people say she looks like Scarlett Johansson, so I had her as Scarlett. Can you think of anybody else? I'm just trying to think.
Honestly, but
be careful what I say.
Yeah, I know, you'll be careful.
The ones that have stuck though now, like we still refer to people by like their code names, because like they were.
We've got G.I. Josh,
and then we put like I asked them like to put me in their phone as something else as well, in case they needed to contact me. So yeah, everyone was under code names, weren't they?
And Nick just turned up and just was like,
he just turned up. Yeah,
he just came along. It's like, when are we going to eat?
Yeah. Actually, no. Let's not say. One thing he did do is we asked him to get a map, so that we could like sit and look at like, have we got people like all across the country that we could call on if need be. And we asked him to get a map, and he turned up with the map, and he'd accidentally bought a map of the north. So all we had
we could only go
was
in the
north. That was it. So
I mean, it's not a bad move, because North School Network, and
to be fair, because I'm feeling like I didn't get involved here, but
he did.
But literally, we travelled all around the country, and one thing that we did, we just kept to B roads, and obviously because map read, and back in the past before we had sat navs, I used to read maps, and and actually going down the B roads is one of the reasons why we didn't get caught when we were travelling so much.
So we took an A to Z, and I think that HQ would probably agree that we probably travelled many more hundreds of miles than any other fugitive ever has in any episode. Literally, we travelled the length and breadth of the UK, but obviously you don't get to see everything on the show. You just get it's impossible to show every little bit.
Well, it's quite interesting, because Bobby was sort of saying yesterday that him and Saffron were really like anxious and really like on edge.
Yeah, they wouldn't stay anywhere.
So in one particular day, they actually moved to 3 places within the space of like an hour, and like to try and show that on TV, it doesn't quite work. So that actually explains why they probably weren't on as much in those early, because
they were moving quite a lot.
Yeah.
In fairness, we would wait till the very last minute. So let's say, because you know that you sort of have, when it sort of gets dark or whatever.
Yeah, you have X amount of time to move, don't you?
But you stop. Well, if we were going to be going somewhere, we would hide in bushes close by and get there with a minute to spare, just so we knew we could go in and be safe, so that we could then just relax. And there were many times we have hidden in so many bushes. And I remember once we rang a friend of ours to get somebody to come and collect us, and this poor guy came to pick us up, and I thought he looked a bit suspicious, so I ran away from him. And that was. And then you probably heard me talk about this, but I also weed in Nick's shoe, which was quite funny. And then there was another occasion where I'm weeing in some bushes, and Nick's supposed to be guarding me, and I said, right, you just make sure that nobody's coming past. So he said, okay, and
just give me the full story of that. It was a single track road, and we drove down there. It was like, it wasn't even a B road. We came off this B road, and he was like, I need to go to the toilet. I need to go to the toilet. We said, right, okay. So we stayed on this road for a second. Well, for maybe 10 minutes, and there were no cars coming past. I said, look, you're right there. Just go in that. So she was like in front of the car, basically.
Yeah, so I'm having a wee, and you've got to
squatting.
I was in a semi-squat because there was brambles, and I would have got pricked up my ass with a bramble. So I'm in a sort of semi-squat, facing the road.
And literally within seconds.
Nick's just wandering backwards and forwards, went, oh my God, there's a car. So he said, oh, come on, I'll hide you. So he came, so I'm in a semi-squat. Nick turned around to cover me. So he had his back to the road. But the way he did it, he actually ended up with my face in his groin, and I've got my knickers around my ankles, having a wee. And I'm like, Nick, we're going to get arrested here for a wee. Far worse. It would have been far better than just seeing me having a wee, because it looked so bad.
Do you know what? The production team are listening and watching this podcast, and they're thinking, you know, when he mentioned Hunted After Dark, he might look like now on the back of you two.
But honestly, the things that we just got into so many scrapes in the funniest way. I mean, there was one night we were sat we wanted to go into some friend's house, but we thought, I want to leave it to the last minute. And so we were sat in some bushes eating nuts with rats.
Feeding the rats.
That was quite good. But yeah, and knocking on people's doors that we'd never met before. You know, 2 people or 3 people we never ever met, complete strangers, let us sleep in their garden, which was very, very kind. And they fed us and watered us and let us use the shower and the washing machine. It was so nice.
I think obviously because you camped at Brian's, didn't you?
That's the first.
You saw like Nick's first camping experience when they camped.
Yeah.
But every night after that was camping then, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think we slept in a bed after that.
That was it. I think
it was so good that we broke it gently that night, because after that, no plan, nothing went to plan where we were trying to aim for. So I think we slept in one bed after that. But other than that, it was all in our tent or in people's gardens.
It's brilliant, because I think that public thing is something we've talked about a lot, isn't it? It's like when you've got a profile and you've got this big network of people that you trust, why would you reach out to the public? But I guess the further into the journey that you go,
the more you need to use the public.
Yeah. And was there any like reservations and sort of doubt in your mind about using the public? Because again, Bobby was talking about when you saw it on the show, they went to Nando's and there was somebody taking a sneaky picture. I've actually had that happen to me, and it's a horrible feeling to have. So was there any thought of, we've come so far now, I really don't want to trust the public, because you just don't know whether they're going to help you or hinder you?
I think it comes down to the first thing with our network. Sometimes when you're trying to evade the hunters, you don't always end up in the place that you think you're going to be. So, you can't always say, well, we're going to go to that place to our associates. So you do have to rely on the public. And I think at the end of the day, it's, sometimes you're faced with, you've got to do it, or, you don't know what's going to happen. So I've got to say that apart from maybe a couple of experiences that we had, everyone was fabulous.
Yeah, I do remember I was obviously monitoring social media, and it was funny because obviously, like the Hunted have access to all their socials, and I did as well, and I kept seeing, I knew they were monitoring things because like they were getting like private messages from people that they know, and I'd go to look and they'd already been opened, because obviously they were opening all the messages and like reading everything to see if there was anything coming in. But I do remember seeing on social media someone saying like, oh, I've just seen these two in like such an obscure location, and I was like, there's no way they'd ever be there. And then when you read back your diary for me, you were in the exact place. So people were sometimes commenting saying like, oh, I've just seen them. They were actually correct.
Most members of the public were amazing. There was only one that was a bit mean, and that was it was coming to the end of the day, and there was a pub, and we went into the pub and asked if we could just sleep in their garden or just have a wash and whatever. And the landlady was really harsh, and she just was like, no, get out. and because
she was actually smoking a joint at the time.
Yeah, she was off her head.
But
she says like, I don't want these cameras. I don't want cameras. I don't want people here that I don't know. But instead of like, oh, what are you doing? Or it wasn't any of that. She just was really mean. And then later I saw that she actually was one of the people that commented saying, oh, they've been to my pub. And what she did actually put in her defence was, if I'd have known it was that it was this, I would have let them stay.
Oh.
Yeah. But the only step that we made that I was, my gut feeling, and Nick's, but I think I really got invested in the whole thing, and I felt like I really got it and got what I needed to do. And the only one step that we made that I knew was risky was the one that got us caught, but we had no other choice. We had no associate that could get us to where we needed to be. There was a big air show on. There was no taxis. It was that, or we weren't going to make extraction.
Yeah.
So it was like, we've got to do it. And that was the only risk that we took. And it was that risk that got us caught, sadly.
Yeah. Early on in the series, we saw you go and visit Alison Hammond and the Bank of Boob. Was it planned that you were going to go and visit her? Was she one of your planned visits?
Yes.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had other people from this morning that we'd said, look, this is what we're doing. Can we turn up? But with Alison, we kind of had an idea in our head of when we knew when she was going to be there. And we just said to her, look, if we're going to come, it'll be in the first week and it'll be one of these days. And so she said, right, if you come, you come. If you don't, you don't. And so obviously it was planned, and we did get there, and we made it, and we're so pleased that we did. We had such a good time.
She was amazing.
Alison, she's amazing. She is an absolute star. She's so lovely. She's so kind. We've been very good friends throughout, this morning and for many, many years. She's very genuine. She's got a heart of gold, and literally, that was the day that I ran away from somebody who actually came to help us because I was so worried. And then it was like we felt a bit like, I don't know, like a bit vulnerable at this point, and a bit jaded and tired and hungry.
And being there, we felt safe.
And it was just like being welcomed by family. She was like, come on, come here. And it was just like, oh, this feels so nice. And then we knew that when we left, I thought, because obviously I didn't get to speak to Liv and Hunter, and I knew she'd ring Liv after we'd gone. Because part of me worrying, as part of a mum, you sort of think, are the kids okay? And will they know that we're okay? Because I was worried that they would be worried about us.
Everything was kind of on a delay. So sometimes people would get in touch, but they'd wait like a good few days till they were like well cleared of them, and then they would like ring, or occasionally so they came here. But it's kind of hard, like when someone will ring you and go like, oh, I saw them like 3 or 4 days ago and they were doing great, but it's like, well, that was quite a long time ago. Like you don't know where they're at now. But yeah, so we kind of got bits from like a delay. So yeah, it was kind of nice. I think that was the only way I kind of ever knew anything. I think you would say to a few people, wouldn't you, like if you speak to her in a few days time, like let her know that everything's good and whatever.
Yeah,
so,
I couldn't ring her because obviously we knew that the likelihood was that, having been our getaway driver, that they would have probably got Liv's phone, so we couldn't take the risk of
I think they would have anyway, even if you hadn't. I think even if I had driven you, I still think they would have come here on day one. Because that's generally what they do, is they go to families' houses straight away, like all the fugitives. So I think like they would have come here anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, if they're going to come here anyway, let's do something fun with it and do a decoy, like, make them think they're here.
And of course, the whole journey to Alison Hammond's house as well led to one of the many sorry Jordan moments in the show. How much of that did you sort of know afterwards, or was that a complete surprise when you watched it back a few weeks ago that they were actually so close on your tail at that point?
Yeah, we knew as soon as it was all over, because Alison told us. Alison, and Tony rang Alison. So Tony, the driver, rang Alison to tell Alison that he'd just seen them. So she knew immediately, and then she rang Liv to tell Liv.
No, he rang me.
Oh, Tony rang you.
So you know when they went, when you saw Tony was on the phone and Jordan walked over to Tony to be like, and he was like, I'm confident he was on the phone to me at that time.
Wow.
Because he rang me and I was like, why are you ringing me? Stop calling me. Like, don't speak to me right now. Like, someone would ring you, you'd be like, don't call me. Go, like, leave.
But in answer to your question, we found out when it was over, not when it was transmitted, because Alison told us straight away. But up until that point, We had no idea that they were that close.
None.
Yeah. And I knew,
None.
so when he rang me, because he rang me and said, I was meant to be meeting them, they're not here, do you know where they are? And I'm like, I know nothing, like, I don't know, I'm not spoke to them at all. But I think then, so I knew, but I couldn't tell them, like, they're literally right behind you, so I couldn't contact them in any way, it was too risky, so, yeah.
It's quite sort of funny to see that, because that was a brilliant moment. I mean, for us, I mean, Jordan's a lovely bloke, because, you know, you've obviously, like, met him and spoke with him and stuff, and he interacts with all the time on Instagram. He's absolutely brilliant. Loves the Sorry Jordan stuff. We were a little bit apprehensive with that. It just started off as a little joke when we first started doing it, but he loves it now, and it's sort of snowballed thanks to JP. We can't quite say why yet, but you'll see quite soon. Let's just say
no.
Yeah.
Old.
Let's just say that the Sorry Jordan t-shirts that you saw us wearing when we did the Instagram live, they've now multiplied. Yes. Let's just say that, and there's something coming very, very soon. But he's a lovely guy. But was there any other points on the run? It definitely seemed like, might have been the way it was edited, that it always seemed to be Jordan and Shaz that were sort of on your tail all the time.
Yeah, again, we didn't know that until it was at the end, and apparently it was them that. I don't think it was intentional. It's just that wherever they were based, because they were on our tails all the time. Apparently, we found out afterwards.
Well, not at the end. We had Becky Mason and
Bex and
Kirsten. Yeah, they nearly caught us. We were near Delamere Forest, and that's where we were driving, and they were coming the other way, and we saw them there. But yeah, Shaz nearly caught us. We ended up when we left Alison's house, and we decided not to go to the cemetery. We actually asked Alison's lodger if he would just take us down the road. And that journey down the road ended to be 8 hours later. And he dropped us off at a Ferrari garage in Sevenoaks, because we were trying to get to Watford ahead of going to Heart Radio the day after. So we had to be near Watford to get the transport over to there. And we went in the Ferrari garage. So he dropped us at the Ferrari garage, and because the guy was ashing. He was literally a mile down the road, and 8 hours later. And so he dropped us there. The lodger. So and when we were at the Ferrari garage, we were then trying to get a Ferrari over to Watford. And the garage agreed to do that, but then Ferrari as a dealership wanted written permission ahead, so they ended up they couldn't do it, and we had to get someone else. And literally, Shaz told us that they drove past the garage because they had a feeling that we're in Sevenoaks, and he spoke to a lady, an interviewer, and she said, I've just seen Eva Speakman because she asked me for directions, bizarrely, same woman. And he said, which direction did she go in? He said she went in that direction. And then Shaz said, I know Nik likes cars. There's a Ferrari garage up there. Let's check there. Wow. And he went to the garage, and literally we'd left 5 minutes before.
We left, so it was as though we kept crossing each other, and then obviously we went to Heart Radio the following day, and again it was Shaz and Jordan, and we actually saw after the Crystal Maze, when we got in the taxi.
We drove past them. We saw them in Leicester Square.
We drove past them 3 times.
They were assigned to you most of the time.
It seems so, but
like for the whole, like I think at the very beginning, at the very end, not so much, but the very
but what I will say, what you're saying there about Jordan and this sort of Sorry Jordan, you're absolutely right. I've got to say that one thing that I cannot or we cannot speak highly enough about is the kindness and integrity and just loveliness of the hunters themselves.
Yeah.
What absolutely gorgeous people. I mean, okay, we've not met them all. We've not met anybody from HQ either, because you don't get to meet them. Obviously, they're in HQ. But the hunters that we met, absolutely so lovely, such nice people, and it was so lovely because one thing that we then learned when we got caught was they just said, we wanted you more than anybody, and now he said, like in HQ there's this, everybody goes, oh my god, he said, you've just become the bloody Speakmans. The cameraman said, I've never in all the years, he said, I've done every celebrity hunted, he said, and we have never had a chase quite as we have with you. And he said, so much so, he said, I want you to sign my leg, the bloody Speakmans, which we did. And it's a guy called Sean who's equally lovely, and he was telling us like how how many times they so nearly got us and then we got away. And anyway, so Nick wrote on just signed his leg, the bloody Speakmans, and then the following, or the same day or the following day, he literally had it tattooed on his leg, the bloody Speakmans. So when we go about, about getting under people's skin, we actually have forever.
Totally. But there was another time when we ended up in I think it was towards the middle of the second week. We were in East Grinstead, and
oh my God,
and early on, like the first day, I was when we went to Wales, I was walking down this road which was really steep, and I tripped up and I flipped over because of the backpack, because packed far too much because it was a last minute job, and I really banged myself, and I felt like I'd banged my tooth or something. So we ended up going to a dentist to have this checked out, and he was like, no, everything's fine. But then the second week, my tooth fell out. My front tooth capped, and it fell out.
Oh my God!
So I had no front tooth, and I was like, "What we're going to do now?" And we're at an associate's house, and she said, just by chance, she said, one of my friends is a dentist, and he's down the road. So she called him, and anyway, I went to the dentist, and he fixed my tooth. What we didn't know is where her house was so hard to find. When she told us the address, the address is quite unusual, so it was so hard to find. The hunters were also looking for her address, but they would struggle to find it, as we fell on it by chance, but they were struggling to find it. And we found out afterwards that literally they were parked where the house is. It's like on the corner there's a shop, and they were parked on the shop, and people had taken selfies with them. So when we left, the lady found out that the hunters were there.
Yeah, so what happened, I spoke to her. The lady's called Steph, so I spoke to Steph, and Steph was saying she goes to like a book club or something, and it was a couple of days later she was at the book club, and someone in the book club went, oh my God, they must be filming Hunted. And she was like, well, what makes you say that? Obviously knowing she'd had them like 2 days before. And there's someone in the book club went, well, my daughter was at the shop on the corner and she took a selfie with them. And she went, oh, can I see it? And she went, yeah. And she showed her the photo. I went, look, and it was with Jordan and Chaz that she'd seen on the corner.
So what was really funny is that Nick's at the dentist, I'm hanging knickers on the washing line because I'd just done my laundry. And Chaz and Jordan were right outside, and we never knew until afterwards.
Poor Jordan.
Again, sorry, Jordan. I've got a question for you.
Go on then.
Right, you're on the run as a fugitive.
Yeah.
You're gonna get caught. It's nailed on.
Right.
Would you rather get caught in
Yeah.
a dentist chair, having like your front tooth sorted,
Yeah.
or with your knickers down, having a wee behind a bush?
Probably dentist chair.
I'm going knickers in the bush. You still got a bit of chance of a runaway once you're in a dental chair.
Not if your knickers are around your ankles, you aren't.
Off, don't you? You pull them up or flip them off and run.
Or waddle.
You
pull
can't.
them.
No, if you're waddling whilst trying to pull them up, you're just gonna go. You're gonna go flat on your face.
Yeah, the penguin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could drip dry anyway. I mean, we're thinking about this way too
Way
much.
too much.
Nice to know that you'd rather get caught in a dentist chair. But
Yeah.
Again, like they say, I think you'd have a better chance of.
Well, I'd
running
rather
away.
be caught with my pants up.
Well, I'm going to put it to you guys. I'm going to ask you each individually: dentist chair or wee behind the bush? Liv, go.
Dentist chair. Yeah.
Nick?
Dentist chair.
Dentist chair. Yeah.
Waving bush.
Yeah.
Right, got to stick to your roots, haven't you? Lots more questions to sort of fire at you. I want to go back a little bit to Heart Breakfast, because we know that when you're on the run, we've seen it on previous Celebrity Hunter series as well, like a little bit like Ed, there are certain commitments that you have to do. There was a singer on a few years ago who ended up performing a concert.
Yeah.
I think that might have been Jordan and Chaz that were in the crowd. I might be wrong.
Potentially.
But anyway, the Heart Breakfast thing, was that a scheduled interview which you already had pre-planned, or was it just I'm going to pop in and see Amanda Holden and chill out with Jamie Theakston? I mean, not a bad way to spend the morning, to be fair.
No, it was pre-planned because we'd brought a book out and we had some commitments in relation to promoting the book as well, which we had quite a lot over that period that we managed to shelve some of them, but we had to do that one. So we knew that we had to be there regardless of being on Hunted anyway.
Yeah.
So we had to be there that day. I think that probably was the riskiest thing, because it's in Leicester Square in central London. And there's a lot of CCTV.
And obviously, whilst you're on Heart, we saw you in one of your disguises.
One of many.
One of many. Were there any that you used that we didn't see?
Yes.
Yes.
So I know you probably seen the photographs. I know Liv's put it on our social media.
I've got any others.
But there was I was pregnant. We had
your pregnancy belly. It started off originally as a beer belly for me.
Nick.
Yeah.
So there was also, and oh my god, I laughed so much. I bought this glue-on ginger beard.
I've got that. Can you see that?
I'm not sure if you can see that. That was another one.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
But what we tended to do was we would swap wigs round. So if I was blonde one day, then Nick would be blonde the next, and we just sort of kept manoeuvring them round. Obviously, like I said, Nick had the beer belly as well, which I don't think you sort of got to see maybe blowing it up, but you didn't get to see the finished result.
I had different coloured tattoo sleeves.
I had was it called a papoose with a baby in it. Well,
that's one thing I'll say as well. We said to associates when they were meeting them in advance, like anyone that was going to see them, if you've got any like props or wigs or anything they can take, because I think that's one thing we said at the start, wasn't it? That I'd obviously seen the series prior, and I remember there was it the Vivian? They dressed up as like old ladies. Immediately, do you remember? Yeah, and immediately they saw it on CCTV and was like, okay, that's not two old ladies. It's got to be someone in disguise. And I remember us discussing it and saying, like, you want disguises that they don't look like disguises. They look like natural little things that normal people would have that aren't like stand out. It was
glasses, glasses,
just little tiny
changing
things.
our hair colour, wearing different things on our heads. So that sometimes wearing tattoos, sometimes not. There's one that you probably didn't see. Was I had tights that looked like tattoos, so my legs were tattooed in a little skirt. So it was all sort of variations around that, really. I can't think of anything else though that.
The baby was good though.
No.
The fake
baby.
baby.
Was
the
good.
fake baby was good because it was the doll looked like a real baby, and dumped that at a friend's house on the first night.
No, I feel like all our like friends have got different.
We still haven't
props and
collected.
items.
We still haven't collected all our things.
No.
There's some night clothes and clothing and a baby and other costumes here and there.
Yeah.
Still to be collected.
And Dad's got Alison Hammond's son's swim trunks as well that have come back.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the last minute packing, I did not pack any shorts, and as you know, it was absolutely roasting. So I ended up wearing Alison's son's shorts, and then obviously I ended up wearing one of Alison's wigs, which was at Heart Radio.
And also another thing that you won't know was that I took a sleeping bag with me. We slept with friends the first night, and they dropped us off in Liverpool. I left my sleeping bag in the back of their car. So they gave me Alison gave me a sleeping bag. So I had Alison's sleeping bag, and I left that in another associate's car that dropped us at Heart Radio. So then when we got to the Crystal Maze, we shared your sleeping bag. And then David from the Crystal Maze gave me his sleeping bag. So I ended up borrowing or losing 3 sleeping bags.
All our items like rotating around the network.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you need to do, because I know you're going out on tour soon, which is by the way, if you want to get tickets, visit your website, which is
nikandeva.com, Nik and Eva.com.
And I think you're coming to sort of near us, going East Mids Airport, Derby way, I think.
We are.
Yeah, we're there on Saturday.
We're there Saturday. Feel free to pop over and say hi if you like.
Yeah, we might see if we've got a spare half an hour. There's no football now, so
there isn't.
Actually got nothing to do.
We'll give you the details after. But yeah, you're more than welcome to pop by and say hi if you like when we're there. It'd be nice to see you both in the flesh.
So we were saying about obviously like you guys are going on tour. What you should do whilst you're on tour is you should go back around all your associates again.
Collect everything.
Collect all the stuff.
There you go. Exactly. We should
like
definitely
a
do that.
treasure hunt.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. There used to be a show on Channel 4 called Treasure Hunt, I think.
Did there?
So maybe you guys
can. Yeah, there was.
I think there was.
Well, actually, Eva mentioned before that we a charity that we're involved with called Trauma Research UK. We've got our first charity ball on Saturday the 16th of September in Leeds. So I think we should gather all our stuff together and raffle it off.
Yeah, and we're hoping to have quite a few of some of the hunters and people from Hunted there joining us. So that should be a really good night. So if anybody wants details about that, it's traumaresearchuk.org.
Yeah, make sure you tag us in social media nearer the date and we'll give it a share for you.
Bless you. Thank you.
Right, let's rip the plaster off,
Go on
shall
then.
we? Let's talk that final day. You've obviously got the extraction details. You know, as over the last couple of series we've hunted, once you get given those details, the hunters are made aware of where you are, just to sort of even the game up a little bit and just to maybe ramp up the pressure a little bit more. It's quite a good tactic from a production point of view to get that going. What's going through your mind when you get that? Because Bobby and Saffron stayed sort of East Midlands, centre of the country, so they could go one way or the other. Whereabouts were you, and then what was going through your mind when you saw, oh my God, we've got to get to there and we've got this amount of time to do it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we were actually in Wales at the time, and all, you know, whether we didn't hear the message right or not, but all we heard was Headcorn Airfield. We didn't know whereabouts that was at all.
All we heard was Headcorn, and they now know where you are.
That was it.
Like, oh my God!
Yeah. So.
Do you only get to listen to it once? Do you only get to listen to the message once?
Just
well,
once.
You can ring the number again, but obviously now at that then you now know that a message has gone through. They know where you are.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously, I mean, that's one thing about the show, and
message,
you know, whether say, oh, it's not real. Honestly, you just never know where they are, and knowing that they were so close to us. And it's funny when I was saying about when I went to the dentist, the RM bed who told us since said, "Did you not see them?" When I went to the dentist, she said, "Did you not see them?" I said, "What?" She said, "Well, I saw them." She said, "I'm surprised they didn't see us." You know, so we was really so close to them. So you never know where they are. So when we ran, we just wanted to get away, and we'd no idea where Headcorn was. And my first thought was, it's somewhere. There's a lot of places in Yorkshire that start with head something. You know, as in head and lid.
And because we were convinced that we were the last man, like the last men standing, we thought, I bet that it's going to be they will have orchestrated it so it's not too far for us. That's what we assumed. So we didn't even know it was anywhere down south. We're thinking, right, Headcorn, it's got to be somewhere around here. Bearing in mind, we don't want to use anybody's phones, because the minute you start using phones and it's an associate, they might be able to track you or find where that person is.
So we wanted to get away from Wales, and we ended up going through Chester and up to Delamere Forest. And then it was just like, and then we just said, right, what we need to do, we just need to find out exactly where we're going. Excuse me. And at that point, we stopped someone and Google on their phone, and then we found out that it was in Kent. And we said, right, okay, we now need to get to Kent. But at that point, using that phone, that's when they were able to track us, and we then were heading south, and then they crossed us, and we literally,
as you saw on the show, they crossed us,
and then they turned round,
and our driver, who's a friend of ours,
didn't notice.
He didn't notice, and he didn't even hear me go, "Josh, they're there," because
we had a
COVID screen up, which was because it was last year, so there were still COVID restrictions. So Josh didn't hear me. So Josh is there like driving Miss Daisy, you know, having a look.
And we could see them turning around.
And I'm like, Josh, for the love of God. And I'm like shouting at him, and then he went, what? I went, they're there. And he went, oh crap. And so then he drove off, and then I saw that little lane. I just went, turn down there, just get rid of us quick. And you keep driving, because I knew they'd clocked his car at that point. So the car for us, the further Josh could get away and drive, they'd follow the car, not us. So,
and we ended up going in a house that was being renovated and speaking to some builders. And I don't know how you felt, Eva, but one of the builders, I thought, don't trust. Well, I did the same thing, and I thought he's going to do something, because we asked to use the phone, and he was really cagey about it. And we used his phone, and then he wandered off with his phone, and I thought, I wonder if he's going to go and ring someone because.
And so we hid behind this building, and then this guy came who looked.
It was the owner.
The owner, and he looked a bit scary, and I just saw this guy, and one of the builders went, "Oh, that's the owner," and I just literally saw this guy walking towards us. And I just thought, I can't have him throw us out of here because we were hiding, waiting for Dave to come and pick us up. And I just ran up to this guy, and I put my arms around him, and I just squeezed him really tight. And I went, you, my darling, are my saviour. And I think he probably just thought, what the hell? Like, so broke his state because he was like, who are you? And then because of what I did, he just really softened and he went, what's going on? And obviously what this lad had done was rang his boss and said that these people. And I just explained, I went, look, we're fugitives on the run. He went, I know what you're talking about. I said, come with me. And he hid us in a garage and we had a little peephole and we'd rang our friend Dave, the one we know with she's the one you saw where we're hiding, and we literally crossed the hunters. But when we got in Dave's car, Dave had already seen them, and Dave said, listen, I've just seen the hunters. I'm sure it's a female. She's got dark hair. I'm sure it's her. So we were already like, this could be it. This could be the end for us. But we just scooched down, got right down into the footwell. I went, Dave, just drive, just get us out of here. So anyway, she didn't see us, and we drove past her. And then we slept outside in someone's garden in Cheshire.
But then we had the issue of trying to get from there to the south in the time, and we just got to the point where the only way to do it was go on the motorway, and you know, otherwise we wouldn't have been there. And look at thinking back now, avoiding the motorway, had we missed the extraction, what would have happened? Because no one, to my knowledge, no one's ever not got to extraction or not been caught.
We also, again, we were supposed to, and we had all this. We had the money that we needed. We had everything set, and we had a phone number to a chap that was going to fly us and get us an aircraft and fly us into Headcorn. And he said he would do it for us. However, he said, I'm really sorry, but because of the weather, he said, we can't fly right now because it's too hot. So he couldn't fly us in. That was absolutely gutting, because that was our way of getting to Headcorn on a light aircraft. And to be told we couldn't do it, that was it. Then we were like, we will not make this now. What are we going to do? And that was when we rang the taxi and went, well, it's taxiing, maybe get it or not at all.
Yeah, I mean, at least you gave it a go.
Yeah.
At what point did you know that the hunters were behind you on the motorway? And then what's going through your head? Because of, you know, powers of the state are replicators, so they can't like box you in on the motorway. They've got to wait until you come off. What's going through your head? Are you trying to think of a potential escape, or are you just thinking, sit back, relax?
Well, because we
split our money, didn't we? So at that point, I just went, right, Nick, behind us, there seemed to be more than one. There was at least two cars that I could see. So I think
that made us think that we were the last ones, because you know, you don't usually get two defenders chasing. Yeah, there was two
defenders, and like I said, because of what had been on social media, we were all the most wanted posters had all come down by ours. So I went, this is up now. There's probably going to be more coming. I never thought that was I sort of thought they might get us, but I'm still not going down without a fight. So until the driver pulled over, I had some money. I split the money with Nick, and I went, just do what you need to do. Take that, just run. And obviously we got out of the car and ran, and they caught us. But it was very exciting. We both said that it was more like that ending was.
Yeah, it was really good, and you know, and the taxi driver was like, they won't catch me, and he was like for speeding, and we're like, you can't, you know, you can't break the speed limit. He's like, I can break the speed limit. I'll get you away. And it's like, no, you can't do that.
We're going to get arrested. You can't do that. You know, we can't put that in jeopardy. So yeah, but he really wanted to put his foot down and break the speed limit, and we're like, no, we've got to play by the rules in that regard.
I mean, to be fair, you know, there's some taxi drivers who are just thinking, I don't get paid enough for this. I'm just going to drive you straight into your arms. But he's thinking, no, if I can get you out of here, I'm going to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Reliable, yes.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. He'd never seen the show, and he wasn't quite sure what the hell was going on. But he
loved it. You know, he said, I'm in a film.
Yeah, he said, I feel like I'm in a film. This is brilliant.
And then when they caught us, he was like, it was like he was fuming, but he's like, get this side. He said, I'm a movie star.
Oh, brilliant. What a guy. Absolutely love it. Obviously, you know, lovely little line at the end when you sort of say to Cashmore, what kept you, lad? That's brilliant. Would have been so much funny if it was Jordan. You got Jordan, though, Eva. And then, obviously, you get straight on the phone to HQ and you sort of have an interaction with them. What was that like when you were sort of speaking to the chief?
I mean, I remember saying to her that, you know, and she said it, and you must be gutted, and to be honest, we weren't, because we wanted to do 14 days, and I know we didn't get to extraction, but You know, when we woke up that morning, we felt like, do you know what? If we don't get to extraction,
we've done our best.
We've done our best, and you know, we were so tired. I can't tell you.
Yeah, but our kid, literally, when we left, the kids said, "Don't want to see you for 14 days." Now, where they went wrong was they should have said, "We don't want to see you till after you've escaped and got to extraction." But because they said 14 days, they weren't clear
did what we said.
Yeah.
We did
What
exactly
you're
what
trying to do is essentially turn around and blame Liv and Hunter.
Yeah.
You said, well, I said, no, don't come back till day 14.
They did,
and that is what you did.
Yeah, no, that's what they said. And I'll be honest, so they said, so we got so much further than we expected, and that's the truth. We you know.
And I will say, actually, as well, I should say, didn't really show it on camera, but because I mean, Cashmore's a really good friend of mine now. But when he came here, I was like flirting with him, like in my interrogation. And when he came, he said to me, he asked me because he thought I was gonna maybe potentially pick them up again, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing later?" And I went, "Why do you want to take me for a drink?" So then when he was leaving, when they came here, I said, he went, "I tell you what," he went, "I'll take you for that drink tomorrow when I bring your parents home." And I went, "Do you mean in 14 days time?" I went, "Yeah, I'll see you then." So I told him 14 days, told you 14 days.
Everyone,
And technically it was, you know, it was 14 days. So
yeah, no, we were
maybe that's it. Maybe your thing with Cashmore trying to, you know, get him to go for a drink, and that maybe that gave him the fuel to cover that extra half step.
Maybe.
Dear.
But yeah, no, when we got caught, I don't know, I think it was just such an adrenaline rush that you're not really thinking straight, and that is the truth. And obviously that's why there was the slip, because it's so fraught. Literally, you're in a car chase, you then get pulled over, you're then running thinking, I don't want to get, I'm not going down without a fight. You're running, and then the next thing you've got a camera in your face and it's the chief. So there wasn't any like, right, let's retake this, or now this is what's going to happen. It didn't happen like that. It all happened so quickly. Hello. So this is it's got a little
Harry, don't look, there's a cat on the screen. Harry was growling about 10 minutes ago, so I sort of sneaked out to open the door. He's lying at our feet at the minute, so every now and again you might just see his nose pop up.
Well, you frozen, so
we can't see you anyway.
There you go.
But yeah,
as long as she's still here, that's all right.
So those last few moments were an complete and utter whirlwind. We'd not slept very well the night before because we knew that the likelihood of us making extraction timing wise was really touch and go. And we just sort of kept thinking, is there anything else we can do? Because we knew that the aircraft wasn't an option. And yes, it was all really fraught. But equally, we were really proud we'd got to where we'd got to. Bit gutted, not like devastated that we didn't get to extraction, because we'd made 14 days. And I really don't think in episode 1, and you might, you know, I would think that a lot of people said to us that they didn't really think that we would get beyond a couple of episodes. So not for any other reason.
I saw one of our family friends in the co-op down the road. Like it was like day 10. I think Andy.
Oh yeah.
I saw him and it was like day 10, and he was like, "Oh, how are Nik and Eva?" And I was like, "Oh, they're still gone." And he went, "No, they're not." And I went, "They are." And he was like, "Are you joking me?" He went, "I didn't think they'd last like 3 days." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Andy. That's so nice."
But I suppose we were sort of the eldest of the group, and probably sort of quite a serious. Our quite a serious career as therapists. So I suppose, and not many people really knew us. People know us off This Morning as therapists, and that's always in our professional capacity. Nobody's ever seen us as Nik and Eva. And that was really nice, actually, being able to, for people to, and that was, you said at the start of our conversation, you said, what's the feedback been like? And the feedback, the biggest thing that we've heard most of all is, it was really nice to get to know you both, and oh my God, you're both so funny. And that really is a compliment, because we love to laugh and to make other people laugh as well.
When we spoke to Bobby, he said that before going on the run, you helped him overcome his dislike of Marmite, and that he now eats it every single day.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was really funny. And I'll let you tell the story because it was you really, but it really made me laugh that we were in prison. And we sort of all sat around and whatever. And then Nik just stood up and he wandered off. And I went, "Where are you going?" He went, "I think I'm just going to go and cure Bobby of his phobia of Marmite." I went, "Why?" He went, "Bored." I went, "All right then." So off he went. But anyway,
well, that was it. Really. I mean, whilst I I don't know what you were doing, but me and Bobby were talking.
Probably.
You might not be surprised. You know, there was a bit of a table there with some food, and that's where I was.
So the real reason was not to go and cure him of the Marmite. That was a side thing. You were just looking for the food.
Yeah, so I was at the food table talking to Bobby, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not seeing the little tubs of Marmite. I've not seen them for ages. I love them." And Bobby said, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever." And I said, "How come?" He said, "I just hate it." And I said, "I can get you over that." And it just went from there, really. So you know, because I think Marmite's amazing. And
it's one of the things. It's one of the things that we do at our workshops. Actually, we do it in reverse. So it's a technique that we use to stop people from eating chocolate or sweets. It's to repulse them against chocolate. And I mean, we've not eaten chocolate for probably like 15, 20 years because we've done it to each other. And so we did it to Bobby, or Nick did it to Bobby in reverse to make him love Marmite. Whereas normally what we do is make people hate something. But and it was that method.
Yes, I mean, essentially, you might not realise, but the you know, any food that you eat or don't eat is based on either, you know, on a previous experience, your first concept of it. So so it's a matter of just changing that coding. So he has it every day now.
Talking of Bobby, oh my God, what an
a lovely
absolutely
guy he is.
Delightful and gorgeous human being he is. He is literally so sweet. I mean, we've kept in touch with Bobby. We got on with Bobby straight away. Loved Nicola as well. We didn't get to meet Nikesh because obviously he had COVID.
Yeah.
So, but again, Nicola was really sweet, really lovely. Watching it, I was so gutted that she got caught sort of fairly early days. Yeah. But that was really nice getting to know them, and obviously Ed and James, because the night before we got released from prison, we spent the night with Ed, James, and Bobby mostly, and we literally were just
laughing so much. I'm going to say, Ed said to Eva, "You've given me so much material for my next show."
Oh dear. Well, we'll maybe have to keep an eye out then. He'll have to call his tour the bloody Speakmans.
Yes,
it's the best way to do it. We've obviously been asking the public for some questions. We'll try and rattle through them. Really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us today on the podcast. We've obviously had lots of them flooded in for you. The first one comes from Milo, who says, "What was the one moment that you were the most anxious whilst on the run?"
For me, most definitely when we got out of the Crystal Maze and we were in the taxi and I saw the hunters.
Yeah, I'd go with the same one. Yeah, because even though they were so close in other situations, we didn't actually know. But then we knew because we saw them and we knew that they knew that we were in a taxi.
Okay. The next one comes from JP.
What a guy.
And JP says, "What does Nick bench?"
Oh, right. Well, if you want to know what my best bench, which I'm not quite there currently, but the best, the most I've ever benched is 435. That's 435.
No idea what that means.
Me neither.
Not being a gym person, I've got no idea what that means. But I'm sure JP will. I'm sure.
Yeah, 135-pound bench press
for 5.
JP will know.
Yeah, JP will know.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll explain it to us. Daisy from HQ says, "Were there any funny bits that didn't make the edit which you wished you had?" I also wish that I hadn't have asked that question, because I feel like there'll be a million answers to this with you two. I think every second would have been a laugh.
Yes, it was. I mean, for me, Nick's tooth falling out was hilarious. Like, even though I didn't want him to be in any discomfort, but he looked so funny. I thought, oh my God, you have so nailed the fugitive look now with that tooth missing. That was
also
hilarious.
The horse. You keep going about the horse.
Oh my God, Crystal Maze. So in the Crystal Maze, there's a game. So they closed the Crystal Maze when it all finished. Everybody left, and then David took us around some of the games, and there was a game
I'm so
which.
Jealous.
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
It was hilarious. But there was one game where I was Sir Lancelot. And I had
jousting.
Yeah, I had this jousting stick, and I was on this horse, which was like it was like a mobile scooter, but dressed as a horse, and I had to move it round and joust. Honestly, it was the funniest thing. It was so bad on that.
Yeah, and he just kept crashing, and that was really really funny. There was honestly so many
things. So many things. Feeding the sea lions.
We fed sea lions, fish, which was quite funny. And then there was another time where a member of the public said that we could use their shower. It was an outdoor shower. And we were like, oh, amazing, thank you. And it was actually just a
horse pipe on a hook.
You dress things up in a certain way. Is it an outdoor shower? Is it a hose? It does the same thing.
Yeah, it does. But they did tell us that we could strip naked and then
it's fine.
and it would be okay.
When we were talking earlier about like hidden cameras and stuff, I've got a funny feeling that this person was trying to start their own like celebrity like cameo site or whatever. I don't know. Very, very strange.
Holly has asked, what's your biggest bit of advice for anyone on the run in the future?
Enjoy it. Don't
just
take
enjoy
it too seriously. For the first few days, we took it very seriously in that we were like, oh my God, what about this? What about that? And then after we left Alison's and we figured that we literally just got away. We just had this gut feeling that they were going to be nearby or in the cemetery. And we just sort of at that point went, do you know what? I think
let's just have fun.
I think we've just got away with it. We didn't get caught on day one, so let's just enjoy the rest of it. So just don't take it too seriously, enjoy it.
One thing we have had come through email, we've had a really great question, so we're going to put it to all three of you, and we're going to give ours as well.
Okay.
They want to sort of redo Hunts a little bit and change the way it works. So instead of going as a 2, you're now going to go as a 4. So you're both going to split up. You're all going to split up, and you get to choose one person from Hunted HQ, past or present, one ground hunter, past or present, and one fugitive, past or present, civilian or celebrity, to form your ultimate hunted team. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. We'll answer ours.
Okay.
And then to have a little think about.
Yeah, just repeat that again.
You've got one person from HQ, one ground hunter, and then one fugitive, past, present, from that's a celebrity or civilian. Okay.
So past or one fugitive, past or present, who is either a celebrity or a civilian from the civilian series. Right. You've given this some thought, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Go for it.
Mine are, from Hunted HQ, I am choosing Smiley Steve, who wasn't in the celebrity one this time, but is normally in civilian.
Yeah, Steve Hurst.
Yeah. My ground hunter is either, because I can't choose it.
No, you've got to choose. This is the rules of the game.
Right, okay, then it's Danny.
Okay, yeah, from the first series.
I don't know Danny.
She was in the very early series as a ground hunter. And then my fugitive is the last civilian winner of Sarah Kibble.
Yeah, and that's who choice. I would, even though I didn't see it, that's
I'd
who we would go for.
Yeah, good choice, I think. Mine from Hunted HQ, I think you've got to go with Raymondo. I think you just keep you perked up. And then, if you're on the run with him, he's not going to be coming out with scathing lines about you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Raymondo. Ground hunter, someone's got to keep your spirits up, and it's got to be JP.
Yeah.
I think he'll be good. It was a tie between him and Steve Cotton, but I'm going JP. And I can't disagree with the fugitive. Sarah Kibble had it all. So that's my ultimate team. Eva, I'll come to you first.
Okay, let me have a think. So the chief before Lisa, I can't remember. I know.
I liked him.
Was it the younger one or the older guy?
The older
guy.
Yeah. So that was Peter Blexley, who's
Because I've seen him on other stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen him on other stuff, and although I haven't seen any of the older ones with him on Hunted, I've seen him on other stuff, and I know who he is, and I think I would imagine that he'd be really good.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, should I go Lisa? Because I do like her, I know a lot of people.
Well, I'm going to go. I know asked you first, but I'm going to go with Peter because we've got similar thoughts on this. So.
Okay, so I'm going. So we're going. Are you picking the same as me?
Well, I don't know. Have you picked him?
Okay, so I'm picking.
I think so because when we watched it, I know we both liked him.
Okay. So so Peter.
Look, can I just confirm here? Just because we like someone doesn't mean we dislike someone else, right? It doesn't mean that we don't like Lisa.
I'm glad you said that because I could just see Daily Mail journalists just writing that down. Then for a second.
I don't know if I've seen Peter in Hunted because I've actually seen him in other shows. So, and I'm not sure if I've seen him that far back. Because don't forget, I've not seen many of the haunted shows.
Well worth a watch. The Blexley series is very direct
good.
and very funny.
Yeah.
I like him. I'm going with Peter. Right, so
Yeah.
I'm going with Peter from HQ. Ground Hunter, that is a hard one because it's got to be the Cashmore or JP. Oh, Shaz. Shaz is lovely as well.
Shaz is lovely.
Can we have him on a rota? So
No,
I
you
go.
Very close.
Firm but fair. No, you can't.
Who are you having?
You can't take
No, you
someone
can't.
else's.
Hang on, let me think. Who do I think I could chat with for ages? Shaz talks a lot.
To be fair, we didn't meet JP though, did we?
Not JP. I'm talking about. I meant Jordan.
Oh right,
I
okay.
mean,
Well,
she
you've
might-
got no
she-
chance
who's
then,
she
have we?
saying?
Yeah.
She might
It
not
might
even
be
be
someone
you.
else. Yeah.
Are you sure you meant Peter Blakes? Are you sure not talking about the first guy and no one remembers?
I'm going to go Jordan because I've got loads of questions I'd like to ask him. And then what else have I got left now? And a previous fugitive would be Sarah.
Yeah. Nick, are you going with the same three, or are you going to make slight amendments?
I'll go for the same two, and I'll go for Paul Cashmore because he caught me, and when he caught me, it was just very fortunate that he managed to catch me. And then I challenged him. I said, "Look, under other circumstances, you won't be able to catch me, or you won't be able to beat me in a race." And I challenged him to a 100-meter race, and he said, "I'm just about out of breath at the moment, right?" And it never happened, right? So.
And are you going with Sarah as well?
Yeah, I'm going with Sarah. Yeah.
Right, Liv, over to you.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
okay.
picking.
So I'm gonna say HQ. I'm gonna go Lisa Thika.
Right,
I think
okay.
because
Well, because
I
we
think,
didn't pick her.
No, it's not because you didn't pick her. I'm not trying to balance it out.
Yeah. It was close.
Listen, I think she's switched on.
I like her.
She's gonna know like what is a good and what is not a good idea. She's gonna be like, I think she's gonna be on it.
Yeah.
Can I just also say, because you said Steve before, was Steve the one that took over after Peter?
No, so Steve Cotton was a ground hunter that we interviewed a while ago. He sort of
All right, no, he says
Smiley Steve.
Oh, Smiley Steve, yeah.
Smiley Steve is normally one of the.
He's one of the digital analysts.
Yeah, one of the
guys,
digital
Right,
analysts.
can I ask you, was he an ex-sniper?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Because there was someone that I really liked in HQ that was an ex-sniper, apparently. I'm sure it might be that Steve.
Anyway,
but anyway,
we're digressing.
Yeah,
We should have a bit of time to think.
Mark, it might be Mark. Mark's, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it could be Mark.
Okay.
We get confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going, like I said, Lisa Thika, because I think she knows her stuff.
I've got to say what's
I think
nice is
she's
that we're
brilliant.
debating so much because we like them all.
Yeah, we do. It's not a bad choice, but
No,
I think with my brains and Lisa's knowledge, I think
Right,
together it's
okay.
like a dream team there. And I would say Ground Hunter's got to be Cashmore because Cashmore's like my best mate, and also he's very good at jumping fences. And physically, he's got that going for him. So I think that he'd be great. And then also, and good content, like I'm going to have a laugh. And I think Fugitive, so I would have said Sarah. I'm going to say, you've all said Sarah. So I'm going to go different. And I'm going to say Eva Speakman. Because I think she's the brains of this operation right here. And I'm also going to say, again, comedy. Like imagine me, you, Paul, and Lisa Thika. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. That's my
that what she just said. That's my dream team.
Yeah, well, there you go. Am I on it though?
Yeah,
I didn't pick myself.
Well, you weren't.
I was just already there.
Otherwise, I would have had you, wouldn't I?
But yeah, that's my.
Oh, Nick.
I like it. Oh, brilliant. I love how it brings so much debate as well. Before we fire off our final question, which is Nat's go-to question.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I know you didn't even write it down. I'm disappointed in you. Just want to say a massive thank you for all the interactions over the last 6 weeks or so. It's been so good to chat to you guys, to find out a little bit more about behind the scenes. And genuinely, we never thought that the silly little podcast which we did would sort of go a little bit more bigger and people would listen along to it. So it's been really great to feel a little bit a part of that experience.
It has, yeah.
I think you guys have been a really important part of the last 6 weeks.
Well, thank you.
Genuinely mean that. In that it's, I don't know, it's just nice because you're kind of impartial because you are fans of the show. So and it's really nice to have your viewpoint and your interaction and listen to the podcast. We've really, really enjoyed it. I've not listened to them all yet, but really excited to listen to more of them. I think I've listened to from this series, I think
So,
the first 2 or 3.
so here's a question, Eva. Who's your favourite from Haunted Pod?
Oh, no one's ever asked that before.
That's a big question.
What? Well.
See, that's different, right? 'Cause like you said
Yes.
before, just because you said we like one doesn't mean we don't like another. In this case, it's pretty like
It's
pretty
50-50,
It's pretty
isn't
bad.
it?
It is,
You
it is,
pick
yeah.
one.
It's
You
fine.
can say that, it's
Basically,
fine.
just
Like,
say we
I
do.
don't need my ego massaging, it's fine. You can say it, it's fine.
I think you're both fabulous,
Yeah.
and I do honestly thank you both because I think you've
Yeah,
it's
you've
been
been amazing.
really enjoyable
Well-
for us to interacting with you guys over the last few weeks.
And,
so
and
thank you.
that said, I've chosen Harry.
Yeah, actually, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would as well.
Harry's the best.
Yeah, he might get. I can't say it because he might get a TREAT very
Yeah.
soon.
I
He's been a
think
good boy.
so.
He's been a good
Right.
boy. Right, come
Should
on.
we ask the final
fire off your
question?
final question.
Right, okay. So my final question is one that started off silly, but now I have to ask it to everyone. What is your favourite biscuit?
Favourite biscuit.
Stumps everyone.
It does,
eh?
yeah.
No,
Right.
I've
Yeah,
got it. It's a jam and it's a jammy dodgy, but the jam and cream one.
Yes, the Foxes ones. Right.
You love them.
I know what I'm doing on Saturday.
What?
We're going to meet the Speakmans and I'm going to get some Foxes. We're going to have a nice sit down, a cup of tea.
And let me ask you: are you dunking or are you not dunking in that with that biscuit?
Every single time dunking. You can't eat them dry.
You've
You know,
got to.
I'm so glad you've said this. I've got to get this out. I've got to name and shame her. Sophie, who I work with, right? We love a cup of tea, and she'll bring a cup of tea, and we have biscuits. And there was one time we had some Fox's Golden Crunch Creams, also Elite biscuit.
Yeah.
And I was sat there. I dunked one of them in my tea whole, ate it whole. She looked at me like I'd just walked into a living room and basically done an Eva Speakman in a bush.
Wow.
No. But dunking your biscuit.
Yeah. I had to cancel meetings and everything. We had a serious chat.
So you need some
So-
educating about the biscuit front. Now the thing about the Golden Crunch, you can't soak for too long.
Yeah.
It's out.
Delicate structure.
Yeah, you've got to consider the structural integrity of these biscuits because some are stronger than others. All right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm going to come back with a question. How many times have you been caught out much by your biscuit dunking and it's gone wrong?
Do you know what? It depends on the biscuit. I think I make fairly solid dunking biscuit choices.
Yeah.
So talking jammy dodgers, crunch creams,
Custard creams.
But a dunk isn't a good dunk. You know, you've got to leave it in there for a good dunk, and you know. But some people, I've noticed some people with the dunking skills, they wimp out a bit and they take it out too fast because they're worried about. Yeah.
I mean, I've got at least 18 years dunking experience now, Nick. I'm going to say I like to know my biscuits.
Okay.
So
quite
going back to that,
confident.
what's your favourite biscuit?
Well, I'm not a biscuit fan, to be honest with you, as you know, because I don't eat biscuits. However, I would go with an oat and raisin cookie, but like but not in a obviously.
You mean like a proper big?
Proper
one?
big thing. Yeah.
Doesn't count.
That you've
Go
got
on.
to break before you can dunk it because unless you had a massive cup.
Yeah. Go on,
Yeah.
Liv, what are you?
See, mine was cookies, right? But this is just going to sound so obscure. The best cookie ever to exist is a dark chocolate ginger. Do you know, like a dark chocolate ginger cookie?
You two should
No,
be
but
ashamed
it's
of
like,
yourself.
it's like
We're
a cookie.
talking proper.
They
We're
do-
talking
Yeah.
bourbons. We're
You
talking
can't do it.
Another
Chocolate
bourbon.
doesn't-
hobnobs.
No, it's dark,
Yeah.
dark chocolate and ginger. It's such a good mix.
Where have you two been?
At the co-op. They do them at the co-op, okay? Go and ask the co-op.
Right.
They do really good. Co-op's finest.
Liv, stop trying to get a brand deal for co-op biscuits. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
How many times have I mentioned co-op? I don't even
Yeah.
know why.
So, what's your favourite biscuits then?
Oh, it's never been put back on us.
I would say my favourite is a bourbon.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, I love a bourbon.
And you don't eat many biscuits.
No, I do have a packet of bourbons in my desk drawer though at work.
Yeah, it
Nice.
does take you a while to get. I mean, I can get through a packet of biscuits. I mean, literally in a day. In
Oh,
fact,
easy.
I don't know whether you can see. Can you see us or not now?
No.
You're frozen.
Right, I'll have to describe them. So obviously, I've been working from home today. I opened a packet of Jammy Dodgers this morning. There's just a full packet of Jammy Dodgers. There's literally just crumbs left in the packet.
Good for you. That's
So
good
I think
form.
my favourite biscuit depends on what mood I'm in, but I think if I had to go top three in no particular order, Jammy Dodgers always a good go-to. Fox's Golden Crunch Cream.
I love a Golden Crunch Cream.
I do love the Fox's cream one, jam and cream ones, like you said, but recently, only in Asda, Galaxy Orange
do like those.
digestives.
I do have another favourite, but they're not made anymore.
That is
which is a Fox's butter biscuit.
Yeah, they're good.
And you can only get them in a selection pack.
Yeah, I know exactly which ones you mean.
They're like
Now.
thin. They're like a rectangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the one. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've got an idea for a new podcast.
What?
Biscuit chat with the Speakmans. We're going to have to make it happen. Unfortunately, though, that is almost all we've got time for on the Hunted podcast today. Just quickly reminders, if people want to come and see you guys on tour and cure their fear of Marmite or get less addicted to biscuits, although why you'd be offering that as a service, I don't know.
True.
Where can we find out information and get tickets?
You can go to our website, which is nikandeva.com, nikandeva.com, and we will be in East Midlands Airport this weekend.
Then we're going to be in Bristol. After that, we will be in Edinburgh, then Manchester, then
Manchester
London,
Airport, and then York.
And then York.
So all over the place, collecting your hunted belongings
Yes.
along the way.
Yes.
If people want to get involved with the charity as well, just remind us of what the charity is.
The charity is called Trauma Research UK, and you can go to the website traumaresearchuk.org. And we, as a charity, want to give people hope and want people to realise that it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. And therefore, if you're not born with any mental health issues, then you don't have to live with them.
You can get better. And the charity not only funds research into mental health treatments, but also, more importantly, offers
help and
free
support programs.
Help and support programs via Zoom and free resources to help people who are struggling with their mental health.
Absolutely brilliant. And if people have enjoyed listening to the Speakmans and want to hear more, we've got a very special one coming up. Make sure you stay tuned for our social medias to find out who it's going to be. And what's those social medias, please?
Twitter is @HuntedPod. Instagram is @HuntedPod. We're on Facebook, it's HuntedPod. Or you can email us, huntedpod@outlook.com. And if you email us, please say something other than hi so that we can actually answer you. Thank you.
We'd love that. There you go. The Speakmans, it's been absolutely fantastic to chat with you. Really appreciate your time. There's one thing left to say. It's PTSD time, so trigger warning. And that is, Nik, Eva and Liv, your time on the pod is over. You have been hunted.
I really hope that we don't get split up.
Yeah, we don't. But if we are being chased, I will sacrifice myself for you, which I have done all my life.
And for me, it's every man for himself.
Chief, we've just had some post through the door. Nik and Eva posted North Wales.
Wales!
A postcard.
Hey hunters, having a great time. Glad you're not here, love, Nik and Eva. Well, whether it's a decoy or otherwise, we'll have a look. Ray, where are the teams?
An hour away from Wales.
Right, everybody, we've had post from the Speakmans telling us where they've been. We can't let a couple of life-change therapists take the piss out of us.
Nik and Eva Speakman are driving to the extraction point, but HQ has tracked their taxi and now has them surrounded.
So many times on the runway, I've been convinced that somebody's been watching me, but whoever that was, just give us the last bit of help.
Yeah, Porterey, the Mercedes is now indicating to exit. Off. Here we go. Stand by for decam.
We're just going to try and run.
Indicating left. Stand by. Decam! Here we go. We're out.
Hold on!
Take Eva. Hold it there. You've been hunted down. Nick, stay where you are. Nick Spearman. Time on the run is over. You've been hunted down. Took your time off, didn't you?
I did good enough to get to day 14. You guys are rubbish.
That's 2 fugitives in the bag. We finally got the bloody Speakmans.
Come on! Absolute merry dads, but we have had the last laugh! Come on, well done.
Chief, she knows where the extraction is. We need to get that offer.
You two must be devastated. You got so close.
It's like the Olympics of winning a silver medal instead of a gold.
I'm disappointed not to have made it to extraction.
I would love to have got on that plane or whatever it is that extraction is. But equally, we even have got here as being quite an achievement.
Right, Eva and Nik, your time on the run is over, so you can now Foxtrot Oscar.
Plane extraction means airfield, probably fixed wing. Thank you very much, Eva.
Could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People people like sheep, move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep, only scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. And when they try to change, you can say no, free me.